The house is located in the Berkshires in southwestern Massachusetts. It's a really incredible area full of artists and farms, incredible food and a lot of creativity and super incredible light, which really drew me to the area. The house itself I found when I was looking at other houses in the Hudson River Valley. And at dinner, I sat next to a real estate agent, and when he heard I was just about to buy a house, and told me before I signed on the dotted line, I had to look at a house for sale in the Berkshires. And the next morning he showed me this house and I fell in love. It's funny because what I told him was I did not want a Tudor house, and what I bought was a Tudor house. So never keep too many limits onto what you might find and buy. The house was built in the very early 1900s, 1903. It was actually built around a barn from the 1700s and was built by a printmaker who settled in the Berkshires. He used the barn to make his prints, and he built his family's home around it, which is so nice because it really is a family home. And I know he used wood from trees from the property for the entire house. So it feels very special in that sense.
Adam, it's rare that you walk into an entry of a house and everything that you want to do is all here. I can't believe that you don't even ever leave this space. You've got your writing desk, we've got a fire sitting. I mean, it's so unusual and it's very special.
Thank you. This really is the heart of the house. And whereas so many living rooms are off on the sides of homes, and now everyone congregates in the kitchen, we actually congregate here.
Yes.
Which is so nice. I love my kitchen, don't get me wrong, but this is truly the heart of the home.
I feel like I'm in some incredible play, like a stage set of some incredible character who creates and writes poetry and gardens, and you are very much part of this house, and it's you, but there's something almost fantastical about it all.
Well, interestingly, this was actually the beginning of the home. This was a barn from the 18th century, and at 1908, a printmaker bought the barn and put his printing factory in here.
In this part?
Right here where we are, and then he built the rest of the house on in the years that followed.
Interesting. And then, okay, we talked about how that side of the main hall is really the heart of the home, but this is pretty darn amazing too. Is this more of a private space for you? Or like, I love this idea that you put this bed almost as a chaise in the corner. It's the first thing you see, and it kind of beckons to you.
Well, that is the people living room, and this is the dog living room.
Yeah, I was going to say, I kind of get who this is all centered around.
This is their bed, but we refer to it as the summer living room because we're in the middle of the garden here, but inside.
Yes.
So it's really an indoor-outdoor room.
And then I love the scale of it. So while these rooms feel kind of small in width, they go up. You have this great ceiling, and that was just such a smart thing to do. Did you always have that? Because I know you're a big collector. Or did you buy that after you found this house? Because it's perfect there.
I bought that for here, and it is wallpaper from the mid-1800s, panels of wallpaper that have been put together, and I just thought it was so fun and exotic and strange.
It does feel like you're kind of in a dream state here because there are so many vintage pieces, but there's also the wonderful combination of plants, dogs. You're always aware of the garden and flowers outside. And then you've got a lot of quite serious overhead lighting of chandeliers, which makes it feel kind of sparkly and elegant too.
You know, I really believe in the mix, and I like to mix everything up. And while there are some as you mentioned, chandeliers may be grand in a sense, I want to make everything comfortable and easy. You can come in and out, shoes, no shoes, I don't care. It's a house to be lived in.
I wanted to ask you, because I think it's so interesting, you're a fashion designer, but obviously you know how to create a magical room. Here you were creating for yourself. How did it differ from creating a collection, or what were the similarities of creating a fabulous room and creating a fabulous dress?
Well, interiors actually guide what I do in my work as a fashion designer. I'm very inspired by by decorators and their use of textures and colors and patterns. And you'll often see that weave in and out of my fashion collections. I dream about rooms, but I make clothes. So they go back and forth.
I love that.
The house is really decorated in layers, and over time, just putting together pieces I find and I love, and I just keep adding to it and taking away. The feel is eclectic, I would say, and I hope one of comfort and one of discovery. It's funny, a friend once walked in and said, "Oh, this is how I wish my grandmother lived." So maybe that describes the general overall vibe of the house. It's a place with a lot of meaning, because there's so much discovery for me of pieces I found from travels and from auctions and from different times in my life, and putting them all together is really part of the process for me. The dining room is one of the most special places in the house because it is a place where everyone gathers. It's right next to the kitchen, so we definitely gather in the kitchen and the dining room and really use it all as one space. The dining room is small, but seats 12 and looks out over the land and the gardens. And I painted it my favorite Pharaoh and Ball setting pink, which is a very pale pink, but changes throughout the day to pale pink to orange. And it's been through a lot of changes, the dining room. I recently bought a collection of 18th century plates. And when we did the video, I had them all up all throughout the room. A few fell down after the shoot. So now I've taken them all down, and I am redoing that room and rethinking that room all in candlelight. And it's a really fun room for me to play with and change all the time. But it really is a focal point of the house.
Love these shutters. I mean, this is like the best, biggest pool house ever. Hi,
Alexander.
Alexander.
Are you off to tennis?
Yes.
Have fun. Good
I
luck.
will. You as well.
Take care.
Enjoy.
This is your pool house?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? This is even bigger in some ways than your main house in a different way, because it's kind of more spread out. This room is enormous.
One level.
One level, exactly. So how do you use it?
Well, I actually move in here in the summer.
I don't blame
and
you.
live here. I live here. I really use it for my office a lot. Mm-hmm. This is where I design, where I work, where I take phone calls now endlessly. But in the summer, I will park myself here. And we live here. Alexander, myself, the dogs. It's just sort of...
And then do you go back and forth, swim, come back in?
Exactly.
Are you a swimmer?
Yes.
I can kind of tell that you are. Oh, I see. Your desk is kind of over there. It's all kind of, again, one level, one big room living.
Just right on through.
Talk to me about this. This is like, did you put this in, this kind of backdrop of a mural? Or what is that?
It's plaster.
Plaster panel.
And it was done by the man who restores all of the plaster for Buckingham Palace. And
really?
I found them in London at an antique shop. And
what gave you the idea? Did you already have this place and you knew that would be perfect?
No, I just knew I would use them somewhere at some point.
That is an answer that every great designer, fashion, interior always says. They don't worry about when they see something incredible about where it's going to go. They just get it and it finds its way somewhere.
Yeah, and I will often buy something and I don't know where it's going to go, but I will put it somewhere and that will reimagine the entire room. So it's often a starting point for me.
Because it's so fantastical and creative here and so serene and peaceful, do you dream about rooms as much as you dream about designing a wonderful dress?
I dream more about...
Or gardens, because I know you're such a huge garden fanatic.
I dream more about the layouts of gardens and about rooms. And clothing too. It's all part of one thing for me.
Interchangeable.
It weaves in and out, yeah.
I wish that there was some kind of app on our video channel that allowed people to smell, because the lilacs that you have in your garden in every room is so delicious and so omnipresent everywhere. Yeah. I'm so grateful to be able to smell it. It's magical.
Scent is so important as part of the room, I think. So we're now in scent season because of the lilacs.
Those irises you showed me, I never knew that those had a scent.
Irises, and they'll fill up the whole room as well.
Well, I love how you, in a very casual way, remember I said to you when I first arrived, we normally don't like people to put flower arrangements because it often looks like they went out and they felt under
like a wedding.
Yeah, they had to get flowers for us. You have such a natural way with the display of your flowers, both inside and out. I mean, just look how casual that is and how perfect.
I'm so happy you're here, but these were done for me, not for you.
And that's what I can tell.
Yeah. So this is the pool house bedroom, or my summer bedroom.
This fabric, Adam, look at this.
Isn't that beautiful? We did a collaboration with Oka, the English design store, and I found a small swatch of this fabric at an antique dealer in the French flea market, and we repainted it and remade it. And for Oka, we just did little small stools and things, but I put it all over this room.
You got more yardage.
Yeah, I thought it looked just, just dreamy.
By the way, it could also be a fantastic dress or skirt.
It would be pretty.
I mean,
it would be pretty.
There's no boundaries to what you can do.
No, and I even brought, this was a ruffle we were working on for a dress. And
really?
I'm like, I want to put that on the end of my drapes. And everyone's like, oh no, it's going to be too girly. I'm like, no, it's going to be perfect.
See, it's so fun to see how your brain can just
Yes.
go back and forth between all those worlds of fashion, interiors, and even really garden.
Yes.
This is incredible. Yes. I just thinking of you in the summer, like on a July evening.
It's heaven.
And the windows open.
They all open,
heavenly.
And we're just inside, outside, and it's so nice to wake up here. It's like you're on a mini vacation.
Yes. You're on your property, but I don't even see the other house.
This was the guest room, always guest room. And when I redid this last year, I was like, you know what?
Sorry.
No,
it's for me.
I'm going to stay out here.
Yes.
So. Susanna, I loved making this bed. I was actually inspired by Virgrini's bed, who you know. And I had done a lot of tears of seeing his beds over the years. And so I work with an incredible woman here who does upholstery. And I gave her this tear sheet. And she's like, yes, I want to do this. It's a challenge. Let's do it. So it's just tons of yards of fabric. The room is about 250 yards of fabric. And then I work with leontine linens. And we pull in the colors of the room. And then this is again from Oka. And it's fun to just take your bed and mix it up and make it super comfortable.
The gardens are something I started a few years after I bought the house. I was working for Oscar de la Renta then, and of course he had one of the most beautiful gardens in the world. And I didn't know where to start. It was sort of overwhelming. The house had a small, nice garden. No one was really sure when it was from or who did it or what. And I tore it out. I didn't like it. And I just started little by little, and of course, mistake by mistake, of landscaping. And it really is a big learning process. As they say, a garden is never done, which is totally true. And gardens take a lot of time to develop and to work through. And it's difficult because my house is on a hill, so it's not just a flat plane to work in. You had to work in different hills with different hardscaping and then different landscaping and really learning to understand the plants. I'm also quite high up. I'm about 1,500 feet up. And so it gets very cold in the winter. So a lot of plants won't grow. So it's really taken, 15 years of understanding what works and what doesn't work. And just spending time outside and with the land and with the views to really know what I wanted to focus on. But I'm always redoing the garden and re-editing the garden and creating new gardens. And that's what's fun about it.
Yeah, but he's small.
Don't miss another video visit. Click on the orange Q to subscribe and have Quintessence virtually delivered from our doorstep to yours.